Hello everyone, and welcome to Earth Archives. Have you ever had the thought that perhaps the only real existence in this world is yourself, and everything else, the people, the things, even every scene around you, is just a backdrop, an illusion? Their existence seems to be solely for you to experience the highs and lows of life, to feel the ups and downs of various emotions. This script may not be perfect, but it feels as if it has been tailored just for us. This idea might sound a little crazy, perhaps even absurd, but how can we prove it's not true? Just like in the movie The Truman Show, Truman begins to doubt that the world he lives in is real when he notices some illogical bugs, such as his deceased father reappearing, or a light falling from the sky for no apparent reason. These phenomena make him question whether everything around him is truly real. But if the workings of the world are so precise and seamless, if everything is designed perfectly, then how can we prove that this isn't all just a grand illusion? Is it possible that we are simply a data simulation created by an alien civilization or some higher intelligence? If that's the case, we may even have to question whether we are real at all. In fact, over 400 years ago, a genius repeatedly pondered this very question while lying in bed. When a sudden flash of insight struck him, it completely shattered the philosophical systems that had dominated Europe for over 1,000 years. The dawn of rational thinking began to illuminate the land. This genius was René Descartes, the 17th century French philosopher, mathematician, and physicist. So, what did Descartes come to realize? What answers did he find? And how does the dawn of rational thought relate to him? To answer these questions, we need to start with Descartes' habit of being a late riser. Descartes' childhood and the beginnings of his thought. René Descartes, the world-renowned French philosopher and mathematician, was born in 1596 in a small town in central France. Today, this town has been named Descartes in his honor, reflecting the profound and undeniable impact he had on future generations. Although Descartes came from a relatively privileged family, his father was a local counselor and judge. He faced an early and devastating loss when his mother passed away when he was just 1 year old. This was, without a doubt, an indelible blow for a young child. The absence of maternal love left him with a deep sense of loneliness and vulnerability, and this early emotional wound seemed to make him more introspective and withdrawn. However, despite these hardships, Descartes' father never neglected his education. Due to Descartes' frail health, his father decided to send him to live with his grandmother, who would care for him. Although he didn't see his father often, Descartes still received steady support and resources from him. This environment provided Descartes with a relatively peaceful space to grow and fostered his growing interest in learning, gradually revealing his thirst for knowledge and natural talent. Despite his fragile health, Descartes had a unique habit from a young age. He often found it difficult to get up immediately in the cold mornings, and thus developed a habit of enjoying long, lazy sleeps. This habit may have stemmed from his strong reliance on quiet environments from a young age, which in turn provided ideal conditions for independent thought and introspection. For him, the silence of the early morning became the most precious time for contemplation. Lying in the warmth of his bed, he would often deeply ponder various questions, and his passion for philosophy, mathematics, and other fields quietly took root during these peaceful moments. It could be said that it was this unique childhood experience that laid the foundation for his future as a great philosopher and mathematician. His intense thirst for knowledge, his pursuit of truth, and his sensitivity to the laws of the world led him to courageously challenge the traditional ideas of his time. He proposed a philosophy centered around Cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, and in mathematics, he founded analytic geometry. It was this way of thinking and spirit of exploration that propelled Descartes to the pinnacle of human civilization. Descartes' education and introduction to mathematics. At the age of 8, Descartes entered a prestigious school founded by the church, which, for a frail child like him, was a fortunate arrangement. Due to his health issues, the school made a special allowance for him. He did not have to wake up early like the other students, and was allowed to continue his studies from the warmth of his bed. For him, this way of learning was almost a dream come true. Each morning, he would prop up his pillow a little higher, and relying on the comfort and tranquility of his bed, he would begin his learning journey. This relatively relaxed learning environment not only helped him avoid the cold of the mornings, but also allowed him to stay focused in the quiet, dedicating his thoughts entirely to his studies. During his time at the school, Descartes systematically studied a range of subjects, including classical literature, theology, mathematics, medicine, law, and even other natural sciences. Despite putting great effort into these fields, he grew increasingly disappointed as his studies progressed. Although these subjects seemed profound, they lacked the solid foundation he was hoping for. He began to realize that many of the arguments within these disciplines were vague, even self-contradictory, which led him to develop a strong skepticism toward the traditional systems of knowledge. However, compared to his confusion in other subjects, mathematics gave Descartes an unprecedented sense of wonder. The clear and rigorous logical structure of mathematics provided him with a completely different kind of intellectual beauty. The relationships between axioms and theorems amazed him, how every simple assumption could lead to complex conclusions. The precision and stability of mathematical thinking filled him with awe. For Descartes, every conclusion in mathematics seemed indisputable. The world it presented was orderly, certain, and unshakable. This was precisely the driving force behind his later engagement with philosophy and scientific exploration. The certainty and logic of mathematics became the guiding light for his understanding of the world and his quest to explore its essence. The allure of mathematics for Descartes was not just as a subject, but as a method, a way of uncovering truth and understanding the world. It convinced him that if he could think about other disciplines with the same clarity and rigor as mathematics, he could reveal more layers of human intelligence. It was through this process of thought that Descartes began to deeply reflect on knowledge, extending his inquiry into broader philosophical and scientific fields, eventually giving birth to his immortal philosophical ideas and scientific achievements. Descartes' philosophical exploration and Cogito, ergo sum. During Descartes' educational journey, mathematics became the central inspiration for his thinking. For him, mathematics was not just about calculations and formulas. It provided a clear and rigorous way of thinking that led him to profound reflections about the world. He began to approach various phenomena from a mathematical perspective, using it as a tool to understand the world. This exploration eventually guided him onto the path of philosophy, creating for him an immortal space in the realm of thought. Descartes' most famous statement, Cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, represents the pinnacle of this intellectual journey. To him, no matter how the external world may change or how our senses may deceive us, the act of thinking is the only indisputable truth. It is the most fundamental proof of our existence. He argued that sensory experience is unreliable because it is constantly subject to illusion or external influences, and we cannot be 100% sure of its truth. Only through rational thought can we access the true nature of the world. In simple terms, it is only thinking that proves our existence, and this idea took philosophy into a whole new realm. Descartes' breakthrough in thought challenged the traditional ideas of his time and upended the long-standing philosophical systems in Europe. His philosophy of skepticism emphasized reason and self-reflection, arguing that only by constantly doubting and critically examining existing systems of knowledge could one arrive at the true truth. His viewpoint of doubt everything, but thinking itself is beyond doubt, undoubtedly changed the way people understood the world, and provided a theoretical foundation for many great thinkers who followed, such as Kant and Hegel. Descartes' philosophical ideas not only influenced the era in which he lived, but also paved the way for the development of modern philosophy. His rationalism not only made us reconsider the sources of knowledge, but also prompted us to reflect on the meaning of our own existence. His explorations led people to re-examine the boundaries of knowledge, and guided by reason, to begin the journey toward the flourishing of modern science and philosophy. Therefore, both in mathematics and philosophy, Descartes left an immortal intellectual legacy, providing endless motivation for the spirit of human thought and exploration. Descartes' contributions to mathematics and science. In addition to his remarkable achievements in philosophy, Descartes made equally significant contributions to mathematics and science, particularly through his innovative thinking in mathematics, which laid the foundation for the later scientific revolution. One of his most famous mathematical inventions was the Cartesian coordinate system. This innovation not only changed the trajectory of mathematical development, but also successfully combined geometry and algebra, creating a whole new field of mathematics. The invention of the Cartesian coordinate system allowed mathematicians to precisely describe points in space using a pair of numbers, the x and y coordinates. This enabled them to address various geometric problems in a simpler and more direct way. Previously, geometry mainly relied on intuition and graphical deduction, but with the Cartesian coordinate system, mathematicians could represent geometric shapes algebraically. This not only greatly simplified the calculation process, but also provided clearer and more precise solutions to complex geometric problems. This invention led to the birth of analytic geometry, a field that greatly expanded the scope of mathematics and physics applications. Analytic geometry not only enabled mathematicians to solve previously unsolvable geometric problems, but also tightly connected mathematical theory with real-world applications. Whether in architectural design, engineering, or the precise calculations in astronomy and physics, analytic geometry played an irreplaceable role. From simple designs in everyday life to complex calculations in the aerospace field, the influence of analytic geometry is everywhere. In modern scientific and technological development, the Cartesian coordinate system and analytic geometry are fundamental, indispensable tools. For example, in aerospace engineering, accurate navigation and positioning calculations are based on these mathematical principles. In computer graphics, the Cartesian coordinate system serves as the foundation for all image processing. On a deeper level, Descartes' contribution was not just a mathematical innovation. It opened the toolbox of modern science, becoming a key instrument for contemporary scientists to solve various practical problems. From basic kinematics in physics to modern quantum mechanics, the combination of analytic geometry and mathematics has undoubtedly played a crucial role in advancing the scientific revolution. Therefore, whether in the development of mathematical theory or in the application of modern science and technology, Descartes' contributions have profoundly changed the way humanity understands and masters the world. His innovative ideas and mathematical tools continue to have a huge influence across many fields today. Descartes' influence and later philosophical thought. Descartes' philosophical ideas have undoubtedly left a deep imprint on the history of Western philosophy. His skepticism and rationalism provided immense momentum for the development of modern philosophy, science, and human civilization as a whole. In particular, his famous statement, Cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, the core of his philosophical thought, almost redefined humanity's understanding of its own existence. Descartes not only made people re-examine their cognitive processes, but also paved the way for an exploration based on rational thinking and a skeptical attitude. This mode of thinking made him one of the founding figures of modern Western philosophy and influenced many great thinkers who came after him. Philosophers like Spinoza and Kant, whose ideas may differ, were all profoundly influenced by Descartes' philosophy. Spinoza inherited the rationalist tradition, developing his unique God is nature philosophical view. Kant, on the other hand, built upon Descartes' foundation to propose a series of far-reaching epistemological questions, conducting an in-depth analysis of the relationship between reason and experience. It can be said that Descartes' philosophical thought ushered in the golden age of modern philosophy, and his skepticism and emphasis on reason provided endless inspiration and space for debate, for later philosophers. But perhaps Descartes' thinking did not stop at mere philosophical exploration. His philosophy challenged the cognitive boundaries of his time, raising many questions that continue to provoke discussion today. For example, is the world we live in truly real? Could it be, like in the Truman Show, a meticulously orchestrated script? Are our sensory experiences just virtual creations, design scenes? These seemingly extreme questions stem from Descartes' philosophical skepticism. He proposed that no matter how external reality might be an illusion, only the act of thinking could prove I exist, thus giving existence certainty. Have you ever, at some point, paused and pondered these questions? Perhaps there are no definitive answers, but it is precisely this kind of reflection that drives humanity forward in the pursuit of exploration. It is this philosophical skepticism that ignites our desire for the unknown and our thirst for truth. From science to philosophy, and even in everyday life, this inquiry continually propels human thought and civilization toward progress and exploration. Perhaps this is Descartes' most profound insight. Our existence is an ongoing process of thinking. In this process, questioning and reflection are the true forces driving our progress. Every doubt about the reality of the world is a transcendence of our own understanding, and this is the very source of humanity's continuous advancement. Thank you for watching today's video. If you're interested in this story, be sure to subscribe to our channel and let us know your favorite topics in the comment section. See you next time.